My entitled Karen friend demands to announce her pregnancy at my birthday party, but after dealing with her rude attitude as well as her aggressive demeanor, I decided to not only deny her request, but also uninvite her from my party after she said she was gonna do it no matter what. And now I'm being called a jerk and I seriously don't know what to do. Lauren has always been one of those people who always wants to be in the spotlight. Lauren is not her real name. This never really bothered me as I am quite an introverted person. Anyways, with that out of the way about Lauren, skipping to my birthday, we have been planning this party for a long time, as I have been really depressed the past couple of years, and this was my first big gathering with all my friends and family who were also there to support my recovery. I was sending out invites and was really excited. We were ordering in pizzas and fried chicken, which are my two absolute favorites. Anyways, I tell everyone in the group chat that we will be ordering this, and everyone is excited, but then Lauren messages everybody and says that she can't have that because she is vegan. She then went on to say it was disrespectful, that I wasn't being inclusive to everybody there. In private messages, she started going on about how it was really rude of me to not have asked before organizing food and that I was discriminating against her for being a vegan. So I got really stressed out and didn't know what to do. I then said I would order her some food separately from a vegan place and that I would be willing to pay for it. She then suddenly went quiet. The day before the party, I got a message in the group chat from her saying to everybody, "Can't wait to catch up with all of you this weekend. I have some exciting news of my own I would like to share." Confused by this, I messaged her personally and asked what this was about, as I didn't quite understand as to why she had to announce it at my birthday. It also really upset me how she was texting the group chat as if she was the one who was organizing the party. We have quite a lot of mutual friends, but at the end of the day, it was my group chat, and she was treating it like it was some kind of mass gathering for her. Lauren then said she was planning on telling everybody about her pregnancy, and when she said that, I was completely shocked. Not only did I feel like she was purposefully trying to ruin my birthday, but I was even more hurt she didn't even ask me first. After all, it was my birthday party. I told her I did not want her to announce it on my birthday, and that I found it really rude of her not to ask me first. She then went off on me, starting complaining about how this was her only opportunity to do it. She said everyone would be there, the timing is so perfect. She claimed that I had ruined her plan and that I'm being a selfish and bad friend for not being happy for her. She then said to me, "I can do whatever the heck I want, and you can't stop me from announcing it." I was so stressed out that I sent her a text message uninviting her from my party and then blocked her altogether. All day, I got calls and text messages from her family saying that I was selfish and incredibly rude, and that I was a narcissist, and that I was indeed a bad friend. They all basically called me a jerk for uninviting her and for being mean to her as well. All these text messages made me feel really guilty, and it made me feel like a complete jerk. So now I'm at a crossroads, and I seriously don't know what to do. Honestly, this Lauren person is an absolute jerk. She is seriously trying to steal your birthday party away from you, and she's trying to make it all about her. She also sounds incredibly entitled. I mean, she accused you of trying to discriminate against her just because she's a vegan. Like, honestly, that could have been handled in private. You could have messaged the original poster and said, "Hey, I can't eat meat. Is there any kind of vegan options that I can have?" And then that could have been worked out right then and there. But instead, she wants to make this big show and tell about it, and then try to pretend like this is some kind of shot at her, when in reality, they're just trying to schedule lunch, lady. Like, come on. And while I know that the original poster is an introvert, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to try and be vocal about this. So truly, I'm so sorry that you're dealing with this, because if there's anybody that's a narcissist in this situation, it definitely is not the original poster, but instead that falls directly on Lauren's shoulders, because she's acting crazy, and the way she's treating you is completely unfair. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. My sister ruined my previous marriage by sleeping around with my ex-fiance and taking away from me my future life. So now that I'm getting married again for the second time, I've decided to deny her access to coming to my wedding. And now I'm being called a jerk, and I seriously don't know what to do. So my sister has a problem with the fact that I do not want her to attend my wedding. I haven't spoken to my sister properly in almost 3 years. The only contact we do keep is through our mother. My soon-to-be husband proposed to me 8 months ago after a year of dating, and in spite of past experience, I was absolutely ecstatic. About 2 months ago, I started working on writing up and sending off the invitations, which took me a couple of weeks altogether, and slowly but surely, I started to receive confirmation texts, emails, and calls. My mother called me shortly after she got her invitation and asked why my sister had not received one yet, which was mind-boggling since my mother of all people would surely understand. 3 years ago, I was preparing for my wedding. I had the venue booked, the honeymoon booked and paid for in full, as well as sorting out the entertainment. The dress, the bridesmaids' dresses, the tuxedo, and food was all paid for. Everything was sorted out and ready. I was also ready ready to marry the love of my life. However, 2 weeks before the wedding was set, my ex called it off with literally little to no explanation and went no contact. I was heartbroken and extremely confused. A couple of weeks later, I find out from Facebook that my sister and ex-fiance were on a trip that I had booked for our honeymoon. Anyways, I soon discovered that for 9 months, they had been sneaking around behind my back. My sister and my then fiance. Their relationship lasted less than half a year before he left her. Ever since, she has been begging for my forgiveness and insists that I need to let the past go, that she is my sister, and that this childish feud will ruin our relationship. To me, it isn't just the fact that she did what she did, but the fact that she betrayed my trust and let me rant and open up to her about things going on in my relationship, while also simultaneously stabbing me in the back. I'm not quite sure what stance my family will hold on this situation, because they generally keep out of conflict, but I need to know, am I the jerk for not wanting my sister to attend my wedding? No, you are not the jerk. Your sister literally went and spent some quality time with your ex-fiance and ruined your future marriage. She took the life you were gonna have away from you and made you waste a lot of money in the process. You had everything sorted out. You had the honeymoon booked out. You had the entertainment sorted. You had the dresses and food. Everything was sorted out. And your sister was secretly ruining all of that behind your back. So not only do I not blame you for saying, nope, you're not coming to my wedding, but also I'm surprised you're even talking to her in the first place. If someone did that to me, that would be a fast track to never being in contact with me ever again. I would just straight up ghost them. I would never consider a family member family ever again if they went behind my back and ruined my marriage. There is no good excuse for that. And seriously, she deserves to be ostracized from the family. And this is not a childish feud, and it's not something that you've done to her. It's really ironic that she's trying to flip the script. She's trying to make it seem like you did this to her, and that your behavior is the reason why there's some kind of tension in the relationship. But in reality, this literally all falls on your sister, because she essentially ruined your life. And if I was in your shoes and that had happened to me, there is no way I would ever let her attend my wedding. My boss has been awful to me for such a long time, so I decided to quit on the spot right away. And as a result, my former coworkers are now in a bad spot, and I can't help but think that maybe I'm the jerk for quitting on the spot and leaving them in a tough situation. Here's what happened. So I work in a small business with 7 employees, and 3 of which are part of the same family, including the newly appointed manager, in an at-will state, which means no notice is required to quit or to fire someone. The manager's kids are really rude, and they're incredibly bossy, and have no consequences for their actions. And since he got made manager, despite having literally zero experience managing, things have gone downhill very fast. I put in my 2 weeks notice Sunday after his kids screwed me over by forcing me to pull a double shift, with the next third shift, who isn't in the manager's family, coming in a bit early to help out, but still a 14-hour shift nonetheless. I then texted the manager, telling him that I put it in, since I wouldn't see him until Monday. Well, Monday comes and I finish my shift, and the manager comes in and starts yelling, screaming, and cursing at me. All in front of customers too, by the way, calling me worthless, useless, and a waste of time. So I told him I won't be putting my 2 weeks in, and then I quit right then and there. I think me being a pushover for the last 3 months made him think that I'd relent, because he seemed genuinely shocked. I dropped off my stuff, said I'd be back in 2 days to pick up my final check, and then I left. I later got a text message from like 2 other coworkers that are not a part of that family, with one of them calling me a jerk for ruining her scheduled vacation by quitting, and the other saying that his anger shifted onto her for no reason whatsoever, and she was going to quit as well. So while I don't think I'm the jerk for quitting, am I the jerk for putting 3 other coworkers that aren't a part of my manager's family in a bad position? What should I do? You quitting and them getting bad situations is not a reflection of you in the slightest. It is a reflection of poor management. It's a reflection that maybe this small business shouldn't try to employ family members who are clearly incompetent and absolute morons. This guy has zero managing experience, and then he tries to boss you around as if you don't know what you're doing, when in reality, this is the guy who really is worthless. This manager is a waste of space, and if I was willing to bet, they probably most likely are completely useless to this organization. It's not fair being under the thumb of some family member of the owners of a small business. Trust me, I've been there and it sucks. You can never get anything done without feeling micromanaged, and you're always constantly on edge, especially if their managing style is super aggressive, just like the guy in this story. So seriously, I don't blame you for quitting on the spot. You don't owe them a single thing. They probably would not have even let you take that 2-week notice, even if that guy didn't blow up on you Monday morning. I mean, seriously, you could do so much better than this. There is no end-all be-all of jobs. You can always find something else that's better than this garbage, because truly, nobody deserves to get treated this way. If a work environment sucks, you absolutely can change your fate, because people who act like this and treat their employees like garbage truly are massive losers in life, and they will never amount to anything other than a failing small business. My neighbor keeps trying to have me babysit their kids, despite the fact that I really don't want to do it, and now I seriously don't know what to do. So I have a neighbor whose kid is the same age as my oldest kid, and that's 7 years old, and they've been friends since they started kindergarten together 2 years ago. She, meaning the neighbor, also has her sister and her nephew living with her, as well as her husband, and her nephew is about 5 years old, about the same age as my youngest, who also will be 5 in September. They are not so well off, despite the fact that we're kind of in the same boat, but they're all working full-time jobs on different shifts from each other, so 3 adults in one house working full-time. Meanwhile, my husband is the sole income for our household, because I have a couple of health problems that cause chronic pain, so it's easier for our household if I stay at home with the kids, saving us the cost of childcare. This neighbor asked me if I could watch her son and her nephew for a few hours one day, a few weeks ago, to which I said sure, no problem. Then she asked again that same week, this time for much longer, pretty much the entire day, which meant snacks and lunch for an additional 2 children. Money has been really tight this year, so we make sure there is enough for the kids to eat well, but that's pretty much it for food in the house. I don't mind feeding the extra kids just this once though. But this is where the problems have started. Suddenly, she was bringing her son and nephew to me every single day. She never explicitly said, hey, could you watch my kids for the summer? Nor has she offered to send snacks and lunch with them, or to maybe even throw $5 or $10 my way so I can buy the extra food for them. And she started to call me late in the night, even calling me at 9:30 at night while I was out at the city's fireworks with my kids and my husband. I ignored the call last night, and I didn't pick up when she called this morning. I feel guilty, but at the same time, I never agreed to this, and days like today are why. I'm sore and I'm overtired, and it's enough just to handle my own kids on flare-up days, let alone 2 extras who are very high energy and very destructive. They've ripped the insulation off my back door. They've broken my kids' things. They're always messing with stuff I tell them not to. So am I the jerk for refusing to be a free babysitter? I know it's a jerk move to ghost her, but I'm also a high anxiety person, and I don't do well with confrontation or letting people down, even if I'm being taken advantage of. What should I do? I don't think you're the jerk at all. You have medical reasons why you can't babysit. If these people really need a babysitter, then they need to find a proper service for it. And just because you stay at home doesn't mean that you're available to try and do that. This neighbor is clearly taking advantage of your generosity. I mean, you're not even getting paid for taking care of those kids. And honestly, you're under no obligation to watch them. They're not your kids, and you really can't say no. If I was in your shoes, I would just type up a very well-worded text message and say to her, hey, I really appreciate you bringing the kids over, but I can no longer babysit them during the day. And then you just leave it at that. That literally is the end of the conversation. Even if she asks why you can't do it anymore, you don't have to give her any kind of excuse. You don't have to talk about the chronic pain. You don't have to talk about how tight money is. None of that. You can just straight up say, no, I cannot watch them. That is a complete sentence, and that's a complete statement. Because at the end of the day, she's taking advantage of you. And honestly, that's such a really dirty thing to do. And you do not deserve to get treated like that in the slightest. My family is going on a surprise vacation right before my birthday. But even after I helped my family plan this vacation, they've decided to exclude me from this vacation altogether. And now I feel so hurt and betrayed, and I seriously don't know what to do. So to start things out, I'm turning 23 next week, and my family decided to book an international family vacation to Bali with literally 5 days notice. I was fine with it, though a little put off, as I had already started organizing things for my birthday that was coming up, but I was also super excited to be going on a vacation. So whilst my family rang me, mainly my dad ranting about how my mother and sister had bullied him into this trip by organizing it without his permission, I set to work helping to book everything. For background, I am the eldest daughter and usually do all the research for family vacations. The trip initially involved a hotel which had extremely bad reviews for mold or dirt, which my mom is sensitive to. So I spent the day messaging my dad all the hotel alternatives, whilst being made very aware that as a family of 5, as the 5th member, I was complicating bookings a lot, often requiring a 3rd room. So I rang my father and said if he absolutely had to, they could leave me behind, as I know my sister had already gone ballistic about this trip, as all her friends are in Europe. But if so, that I would appreciate if they could be home for my birthday. I made it very clear that I didn't want to sit out, and that for only 3 reasons would I be okay with being left behind. For one, if the expenses was too much, such as requiring an additional expensive room. Secondly, if logistically it was impossible, being that the holiday or hotel package couldn't fit 5 people. And for a 3rd reason, if the trip would run into my birthday. The next day, I ring my parents, and they tell me they have sorted this fantastic trip with Hilton, but that I'm not coming. Now, I was bummed, as it meant that I would be alone on my birthday, but assumed that being so late notice, it must have been impossible to include me as well. hotel. I asked them what the struggle was, and it was revealed that they didn't even try to add me. I was annoyed, but I said I would ring up the Hilton Hotel and see if one room can sleep 3 people without having to share a bed. And then I found out that they have a sofa bed, which meant it was cheap and easy for me to go. And yet when I told my dad, he said it was so stressful making the original booking and that he couldn't be bothered to ring them up and get the room reservation updated. So I rang my mom and she said that she didn't want 3 kids in a room. I am now furious with my family. I feel betrayed that they would willingly leave me alone on my birthday at such short notice and ditch our plans. I'm angry that they didn't even try, and that even when I patiently found a solution, they didn't even have the motivation to try and include me. I live out of home and I'm constantly organizing things for my parents' birthdays, and I feel super hurt that despite being a high achiever that they constantly gloat about, I am apparently not worth the return effort, and that it is especially evil to have your daughter plan trips that you then exclude her from. So am I the jerk for getting mad? I feel exhausted, isolated, and I feel like my birthday has been completely ruined. You're not the jerk. Your parents are absolutely unreasonable. First and foremost, I would not have given them any kind of out, because it really does seem like your parents are super lazy. You basically laid out every excuse in the book, basically saying, oh, if these things don't line up, don't worry, I can always stay back. But what they heard is, oh, she's willing to stay back? Cool, let's not schedule her at all. Like they were basically given an excuse to exclude you from this vacation. So in that regard, I don't think that was a wise thing to do. But also the fact that they don't want to try and fight for you being on this vacation is proof enough in my mind that they clearly did not care about you coming on this vacation in the slightest. But instead, they only wanted you to try and organize it and figure it out for them because, again, I really think they're just too lazy to do it. And that's unfortunate for you. You're clearly a very smart and skilled individual, and your parents just love to gloat about it. So it all really is such a shame that your father couldn't call up the Hilton Hotel and be like, wait, we need to reserve a room with a couch sofa or something like that so that you can be involved. There's no good excuse for his behavior, and your family really is awful for doing this. So I don't blame you for getting mad in the slightest, because I know for a fact if I put all this work in to get a vacation ready for my family, I also would be furious to be left out all of a sudden. My entitled manager mocks me for getting sick, claiming that he hasn't gotten sick in 9 years, while also demanding that I show up to work no matter what. So I decided to maliciously comply, and as a result, he got sick with my sickness and had to take an entire week off just to get better. Here's what happened. So for reference, this story takes place in around 2017, so this is definitely before COVID. I used to work in a training center for a Fortune 500 company. When class wasn't in session, the building normally only had 4 people in it: me, the boss, and 2 trainers. I called in sick 2 days in a row because I had some nasty lung infection. On the second day, the boss starts ranting at me, saying that kids these days have no discipline. I haven't taken a sick day in 9 years. I tried asking if he wanted me to get a doctor's note, but he was pretty adamant about me coming in the next day. He said that he could decide if I'm actually sick, and he can send me home if I really am. I was one of the few women working in that section of the company, less than half of everybody's age, and I felt like arguing with him was just going to be a bad idea, so I decided to maliciously comply. That morning, I decided to not pump myself full of cold medication and just go in raw. As soon as I walked in the door, the trainers looked at me and I said, I'm very sick. You might want to give me some space. They looked at me wide-eyed, nodded their heads, and went to a different section of the building. The boss hears me coughing so hard, I'm having to actually gasp for air like I had just emerged from the depths of the ocean. He walks in and says, oh, you really are sick. You should go home, but I don't understand how you got this sick. He then reminds me that he hasn't taken a sick day in 9 years. So I drive home and I come back in the next day. The trainers look at me and say, what in the world are you doing here? So I responded by saying the boss said that if I'm actually sick, he can send me home. They just laughed and avoided my section of the building. The boss once again hears me coughing and gasping for air and comes in and dismisses me again, and this time tells me that he doesn't need more proof. I can come back when I feel better. 4 days later, Mr. I haven't taken a sick day in 9 years was indeed very sick with some nasty lung infection and was out for an entire week. So it honestly makes me think that maybe he should try to have more discipline. I cannot stand working for people like this. Here you are getting sick as a dog, and then suddenly your boss is going to be like, oh, I haven't taken a sick day in 9 years. First off, chances are he's probably lying. He's probably just saying that to make himself look good, when in reality, he probably has taken a sick day. I'm not saying that people don't do that. There are just some people who don't get sick. But for the rest of us who occasionally do get sick, it's completely normal and it really is just not a big deal. So with that in mind, I love the fact that he got sick and he was out for an entire week. I mean, this guy made you show up to work sick. Why does he get the luxury of staying home for an entire week? Oh, that's right, because he's the boss. All those 9 years of being dedicated and having discipline suddenly just goes out the window the second you're in power and you can make all the decisions. So good for you for getting this guy sick. He honestly deserved it, and hopefully this this will teach them that it takes more than discipline to try and get better from an illness. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out in the description below and subscribe.